Most people will live their entire lives without ever realizing they carry the divine spark that could transform them into one of God's chosen vessels. Right now, as you watch this, there are extraordinary spiritual markers manifesting in your life that most believers completely overlook, signs so rare and profound that they've only appeared in the lives of those destined for sainthood. What I'm about to reveal will shatter everything you thought you knew about spiritual calling. These aren't the obvious signs everyone talks about. These are the hidden, mystical indicators that have appeared in the lives of every canonized saint throughout history, from Francis of Assisi to Mother Teresa. And if you're experiencing even 3 of these signs, your soul may already be on a trajectory towards something far greater than you ever imagined. But here's what terrifies most people. Recognizing these signs means accepting a level of spiritual responsibility that will completely transform how you live. Some viewers will close this video before I finish revealing all 7 signs because they're not ready for this truth. But if you stay until the end, you'll discover not only what these signs are, but how to cultivate them intentionally in your daily walk with God. The 7th sign is so powerful and so rarely discussed that it's been hidden in plain sight for centuries. And it all begins with something that happened to a simple man walking through a crowded marketplace. Sign number 1. You experience divine interruptions. Brother Francis was walking through the market when suddenly, an overwhelming compulsion stopped him mid-step. Not a thought, not a feeling, a complete spiritual interruption that redirected his entire day toward serving a leper he'd normally avoid. This wasn't coincidence. This was sign number 1. Divine interruptions are moments when God literally breaks into your routine with such force that you have no choice but to respond. Unlike ordinary inspiration, these feel like gentle but irresistible commands that come from beyond your own consciousness. You might be driving to work when suddenly you feel compelled to visit someone who's struggling. You might be in conversation when words come out of your mouth that you didn't plan, words that bring healing to someone's deepest wound. What makes this sign rare is its consistency. While many believers experience occasional spiritual promptings, potential saints experience these divine interruptions as a regular pattern in their lives. It's as if heaven has a direct line to their daily existence. But there's something even more extraordinary happening here that most people miss entirely. When these divine interruptions become frequent, they create a supernatural sensitivity to human pain that goes far beyond ordinary compassion. Sign number 2. You feel pain for others' spiritual condition. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Matthew 5 verse 4. This isn't ordinary empathy. This is a supernatural grief that wells up when you witness spiritual darkness in others' lives. You don't just feel sorry for people, you experience actual heartbreak over their separation from God. When you see someone trapped in addiction, bitterness, or despair, something inside you breaks in a way that feels almost physical. Saints throughout history have described this as carrying a piece of Christ's heart within them. They weep not just for suffering, but for souls that have lost their way. This sign manifests when you find yourself praying for strangers with the same intensity you'd pray for your own family. You lose sleep thinking about the spiritual condition of people you barely know. This divine empathy becomes so intense that it actually drives you to action, but that action takes a very specific form that reveals the 3rd sign. While most believers choose comfortable service opportunities, those destined for sainthood find themselves drawn to serve the most unlikely people. Sign number 3. You're drawn to serve the undeservable. Here's where it gets uncomfortable for most people. While others gravitate toward helping those who are grateful and appreciative, you find yourself inexplicably drawn to serve people who may never thank you, acknowledge you, or even like you. There was once a woman who spent her entire inheritance caring for prisoners who had committed violent crimes. Her friends called her foolish. Her family said she was wasting her life. But she couldn't stop herself from seeing Christ in the faces of those society had written off. This is the supernatural love that transcends human logic. Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. Matthew 25 verse 40. You find yourself defending people others criticize. You make excuses for those who hurt you. You see potential where others see problems. This isn't naivety, it's divine vision. You literally see people through God's eyes rather than through human judgment. Yet this supernatural love comes with an unexpected cost. The closer you draw to God's heart for humanity, the more you'll notice a darker reality beginning to emerge in your life. Sign number 4. You experience spiritual warfare intensely. The closer you draw to God, the more opposition you face from spiritual forces of darkness. This isn't paranoia, it's the reality every saint has faced. You experience attacks on multiple levels, doubt that feels crushing, temptations that seem tailored specifically to your weaknesses, and circumstances that align perfectly to discourage your spiritual progress. You might notice that whenever you commit to deeper prayer or service, chaos erupts in other areas of your life. Relationships become strained. Financial pressure increases. Your health becomes more fragile. This isn't coincidence, it's confirmation that you're making the enemy nervous. Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. 1 Peter 5 verse 8. But here's what most believers don't understand. This intense spiritual warfare isn't a sign you're doing something wrong, it's a sign you're doing something right. The enemy only attacks those who pose a real threat to his kingdom. Saints learn to recognize these attacks as validation of their calling, which creates an unusual response. Instead of becoming bitter or discouraged, they develop something that sounds almost impossible to the natural mind. Sign number 5. You find joy in suffering. This is perhaps the most misunderstood sign of potential sainthood. You don't seek suffering, but when it comes, you experience an inexplicable peace and even joy in the midst of it. Not because you're masochistic, but because suffering connects you more deeply to Christ's experience. Consider a man who lost everything, his business, his health, his reputation, yet found himself more grateful than ever before. While others offered sympathy, he kept insisting that this trial was the greatest gift God had ever given him because it stripped away everything that wasn't essential, leaving only his relationship with God. I want to know Christ, yes, to know the power of his resurrection and participation in his sufferings, becoming like him in his death. Philippians 3 verse 10. You begin to understand that suffering isn't God's punishment, it's God's invitation to share in Christ's redemptive work. This perspective shift is so radical that it actually changes your brain chemistry, creating a supernatural resilience that others can't explain. And this inner transformation becomes visible to others in ways you might not even realize. People begin to notice something different about your very presence. Sign number 6. People are inexplicably drawn to your presence. Without trying to be charismatic or influential, you notice that people seek you out during their darkest moments. They can't always explain why, but something about your presence brings them peace. Strangers tell you their deepest secrets. Children gravitate toward you. Even animals seem unusually comfortable around you. This isn't about having a magnetic personality. It's about carrying the presence of God so consistently that it becomes detectable to others, even if they don't recognize what they're sensing. You become a human sanctuary, a walking refuge where people's souls can rest. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11 verse 28. You realize that God is using your surrendered life as a vessel to touch others. Your very presence becomes a form of ministry, even in silence. This realization awakens something profound within you, a shift in how you view every single choice you make. Sign number 7. You live with eternal perspective in every decision. Here's the sign that separates potential saints from ordinary believers. Every decision you make is filtered through eternity rather than time. You don't just think about how choices will affect you tomorrow or next year. You consider how they'll impact your soul and others' souls for eternity. When choosing how to spend money, you think about eternal treasure. When choosing words, you consider their eternal impact. When facing temptation, you see it through the lens of eternal consequences. This isn't fear-based living, it's love-based living that recognizes the eternal weight of every moment. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen, since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. 2 Corinthians 4 verse 18. Saints understand that they're not just living for this lifetime, they're living for all of history and eternity. Every act of love, every sacrifice, every moment of faithfulness becomes part of God's eternal plan to redeem humanity. This eternal perspective transforms everything: your priorities, your fears, your hopes, your daily choices. You begin living each day as if it's your last, but also as if you'll give an account for it forever. If you recognized yourself in even half of these signs, God is calling you to something extraordinary. These aren't coincidences or nice spiritual thoughts. They're the supernatural indicators that have marked every saint throughout history. But here's the crucial truth. Sainthood isn't about perfection. It's about surrender. It's about saying yes to God's invitation to become a vessel for His love in this world. Every saint started exactly where you are now, with these same signs stirring in their heart. The question isn't whether you're worthy. None of us are. The question is whether you're willing. Are you willing to let God use your life as an instrument of His love? Are you ready to embrace the divine calling that's already stirring within you? Deep reflection questions. Which of these signs resonated most deeply with your current experience? What is God asking you to surrender that you've been holding back? How might your life look different if you fully embraced these divine indicators? What's the first step you need to take to align your life more fully with your calling? Don't let this moment pass without response. God has placed these signs in your life for a reason. Take time this week to pray specifically about which signs you're experiencing and how God wants to use them. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. They might be experiencing these same signs and not know what they mean. Remember, the world needs saints now more than ever. Maybe God is calling you to be one of them. Your destiny is waiting. The question is, will you answer the call?